Howdy, 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 and more howdy to you. Welcome to the Lady Walker Show. I am Lady Walker, and beloved, we have a gem dandy of a show in store for you. And BTW, which stands for a minute you already know. By the way, thanks a trio for allowing me to come into your home to sup a little tea with you. Well, as I said, we have a gem dandy of a show. My guest is here tonight who is going to be sharing with us his first book. Yes, his first book that is entitled Reverse Guilty Plea. Reverse Guilty Plea. But before we get into talking about what this book is all about, we are going to find out just a little bit about who this guest is. So welcome to the show, William Trest, Jr.
Thank you a lot.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you ever so much. Now, William, we are going to talk about the book later on, but first I want to give the audience an opportunity to find out just a little bit about who is William Trest Jr., the one who wrote Reverse Guilty Plea.
Well, I'm a lifelong Mississippian, and I'm familiar with the state, and I know it like the back of my hand.
Do you now?
And I lived in Clinton for 35 years, and I went to Clinton High School and graduated in 1977. And I went to the University of Mississippi after that and graduated in '82 and majored in business administration.
Business, okay. You know, I did that at Hines. I went to Hines Community College and I majored in business administration as well. Then from there I went on to JSU and all of that. But that's interesting. Business administration.
Yes, it's real interesting, all the courses you take in business administration, you know, accounting, marketing, just a whole business law, which is real interesting, and management, just all different types of things, you know.
So after graduating and getting your degree in business administration, did you go into business in a career that had where you can utilize that degree?
Yeah, I went to work for the state where I did accounting, you know.
Oh, did you? Accounting? Wow. How interested.
Yeah.
Is accounting something pretty challenging? You know, pretty difficult? Well, you went into it, so it must have eventually been easy for you.
Governmental accounting was real challenging for me because I was used to regular accounting.
Oh, really? So was that your main job in accounting, was working with the government?
Yeah, it was with the government, with the states, you know, and I was used to doing regular accounting. And then I was thrust into doing governmental accounting, which I had no experience at, you know, so that's why I'm a writer now.
Oh, well, how interesting that is, okay? But you did work in accounting for quite some time.
Yeah, several years.
Several years, and you decided, you know what, I want to try, you know, a career in something totally different than what I went to school for.
Yeah, and I did do something totally different, you know, but in business you have English courses, you know, English composition. And I was nominated for the English Honors Program at Hines Junior College, and I went on to Ole Miss and made A's in English and in literature and stuff like that.
English literature? Oh, my goodness. Literature. Now that requires a lot of critical thinking.
Yes.
Critical thinking.
And I discovered I was better at that than I was accounting, you know.
Really? I know I have a daughter who's in school at this time, and she's taking English literature as one of the subjects that she has to take, and it is so challenging, but it involves critical thinking, something that she wasn't used to. Even when she went to high school, she didn't learn how to critical think.
Yeah.
And I must say I didn't either in high school.
You have to really think deep on that
you
stuff.
Really do. You have to look at things from a different standpoint than what you're used to looking at things.
Yeah.
It's sort of like coming up with your own perspective of it.
And I also took political science at Ole Miss and made straight A's in it, you know.
Really?
I took international politics and local politics and everything.
So that's interesting that you didn't decide to go into politics then.
Well, I wasn't interested in going into it myself as much as I was just interested in following it, you know.
But you know what? I guess now with politics nowadays, with going in having those particular classes, it sort of helps you to understand it just a little bit more than the average person who hadn't had those classes.
How it works, you know,
Exactly.
how the system works.
Yes. So the system, the way the system works, can be a little bit challenging to the average mind that isn't used to understand the terminology and the working of politics.
It's a lot harder to get things done once you get in there than most people think, you know.
I know, because a person can run on this particular subject or whatever and say, I'm going to do this, but when you get in, it's a totally different thing. And then people would say, well, they said they were going to do this. You know, they ran on this.
They're just one person, you know.
Right, because you got to have more than just that person to get this bill passed or to get this passed and all of that.
Yeah,
but that is so interesting. So, of course, you learned that in your major, in one of the classes that you took.
Yeah, and it often looks reverse to somebody out in regular society, that politicians are doing things a certain way, you know. But in real life, it's just not as easy to get things done as most people think, you know, in Washington or in local politics or anything like that, you know, or state politics.
You know, that's so interesting, because I myself used to think that way, but eventually I put myself in a position to learn a little bit more, because some things may not come to you just automatically. You have to go and seek out, you have to glean for that information in order to know it. And so I had to put myself in that position to learn a little bit more than what I thought, well, what I knew. And even to this day, I am still open to learning, because I know I don't know everything. There are so many things I don't know, but I put myself in a position to learn.
In this book, I've written for the purpose of assisting the judicial system. Now, I don't have all the answers myself, you know. I'm just a beggar trying to tell other beggars where he's found bread, you know. And
That's interesting.
I really don't know a whole lot about all aspects of the judicial system, but I'm trying to do the best I can to recommend changes that might make it better, you know.
And I think that is really good. I mean, whenever you learn something and you know that information is valuable, you don't keep it to yourself, you give it out to other people. And so that's what you are doing through this particular book, because when we come back from a break, we are going to get into this book. You know, what inspired you to write the book, and what is the book about, because I have heard some good reviews about the book, and so we are going to find out a little bit more about this interesting book, Reverse Guilty Plea.
Thank you.
All right, so what we are going to do now, Mr. William Trest, is we are going to take a break and come back and speak a little bit on your book, Reverse Guilty Plea. All right, beloved, we are going to take a break and we'll be right back with William Trest Jr. Welcome back, beloved. My guest tonight is William Trest Jr. He is the author of Reverse Guilty Plea. A very, very interesting book, if I do say so myself. Okay, now, William, are you single? Not married? Single? No kids?
No kids.
Okay, that's fine. I understand that. Nothing is wrong with that. Therefore, it gives you a whole lot of opportunity to focus on your writing.
I don't know how I would find time if I had a lot of kids.
I know,
you know?
Oh yes, because that can somewhat interfere with your time, and especially finding time to write, because that involves a whole lot of concentration and focus.
Yeah.
Now, you have been on different shows to promote your book. Tell us some of the shows that you have thus far went on.
I've been on 90.1 radio station, you know, here in Jackson. And I've been on a radio station in Hattiesburg on the campus of Southern Mississippi. And I've been on WLOX in Biloxi, a TV station. And I've been on WLBT here in Jackson TV station, you know. Okay,
so you've been on quite, now when you've been WLBT, for instance, that's a live taping.
Live.
Very live. And what we are doing, we are pre-taping.
Pre-taping.
But there's a difference in being pre-taped versus being live. If any mistakes are made, it's just caught right then and there.
And you're just starting out, so you're really nervous, you know, because you're just starting out, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was good. So your name is out there. Your book is out there. You know the name of your book, what the book is about. And again, we are pleased that you are here to share that information with us. Now tell us what inspired you to write this. It's a novella, right?
Novella. I started reading the articles in the newspaper about prison overcrowding and jails that were overcrowded, and how the inmates were not getting represented properly by their lawyers because there were just so many of them, you know.
Yes.
And crime is a major problem in America. And of course, you want to have punishment for crime.
Right.
But on the other hand, you want to make sure that the ones that are convicted are actually guilty, you know.
Right.
And you want the true facts of a case to come out. But oftentimes the true facts don't come out because the lawyers don't have time to go over the facts of the defendant's cases.
Oh man, and that's a sad thing when they don't have the time. I don't know if it's that they don't make the time or that they don't have the time, but I'm pretty sure when you are defending somebody, you need to make the time to make sure that you have the facts.
Yeah.
When you are representing this client of yours.
The protagonist in this book, Charles Wilson, was involved in a fierce family feud, and it led to his wrongful incarceration, you know. And he eventually spent 2 years in jail, and the public defender only met with him for 5 minutes the whole time he was in jail.
5 minutes.
And he was in there for 2 years.
For 2 years.
2 years.
And the person who was supposed to had been representing him only spent 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and he'll be talking with the public defender in the book, and the public defender will be distracted by something else, and he wouldn't even get his facts across, you know.
And this is in the book. And the interesting thing is sometimes, you know, when even if it's a novella or whatever, we know sometimes those things are based upon life events, okay? And these things are happening in real life. You know, so in your book, if Charles, the protagonist, only had 5 minutes with the person who was representing him during the 2 years that he was in jail, you know that is happening in real life with some of those who are incarcerated.
Yeah, yeah. And if you just have 5 minutes to talk to your attorney, you don't. Most cases are complicated, you know, and you just don't have time to get your case across
in 5 minutes.
and that your attorney is supposed to be your friend.
Exactly.
On your side, you know. But if you ain't got time to talk to the person that's on your side, what chance do you have with a jury?
I know.
Or with a prosecutor, you know.
That is so true. That is so true. Now, did Charles in this book here, the protagonist, the main one in the story, did he have a public defender or did he have?
He had a public defender.
He had a public defender. Okay.
And with a
with a public defender, you don't have to pay.
It's free, but you're so poor that you can't represent yourself. You know, Charles couldn't represent himself because he was so poor, and he had a public defender assigned to him.
But the public defender is working on, I mean, it's supposed to be working for you, but who is the public defender working on behalf of the state?
He's getting paid by the state.
Okay, getting paid.
So he's really not going to be that interested in defending a person because his money's coming from the other side.
Which may not be much, huh? Which may not be much, okay, okay. But we know in real life, again, you know, there are quite a few people who are incarcerated or on their way to prison that may have a public defender.
Yeah.
And prayerfully, then this is where prayer really got to come in for those who believe in prayer. You know, that, you know, even if it's a one of those kind of attorneys that they would certainly do their best to represent them.
Yeah, yeah, and if you are rich, you can afford to get
I know the best, can't you?
You can get a good lawyer to represent you, and your chances are a lot better. And you can pay your bond and your bail, and you can get out and get a good lawyer to represent you, and your chances of getting off are a lot better, you know.
Right, exactly, than a public defender. Not saying that all public defenders are not going to be diligently doing what they need to do to help their client out.
They're just not in a position.
Right, okay. But that's interesting. Well, what we are going to do, we are going to come back and talk just a little bit more about this lovely book, Reverse Guilty Plea by William Trest Jr. And then you can tell us just a little bit more. And of course, the remainder of the stuff, the people have to purchase the book to find out more about it. What kind of trouble did Charles get into? And he stayed in prison for how long did he ever get out, and all of that kind of good stuff. We are going to allow the reader to purchase the book to find out that information, okay? But we want to find out just a little bit more about the book. So we are going to take a break and come back and let you do that. Okay, beloved, we will be right back. Tonight's guest is William Trest Jr., author of Reverse Guilty Plea. To obtain your personal copy, go to www.meredithetc.com. Welcome back, beloved. My guest is William Trest Jr., the author of Reverse Guilty Plea. And this is a book about a young man who wrongfully was accused. Was he accused of something that he didn't do?
Yes.
Okay, he was accused of something he didn't do, but he spent 2 years in
jail.
But eventually, you know, he gets off later on. But you look at the judicial system today, it's not the best, okay? But it can be improved, and it needs improvement. The justice system needs improvement here in Mississippi. Now, we know that Mississippi is one of those states that if you have a felony on your record, that we know you cannot vote in Mississippi. Okay.
Yeah, and most of them are southern states. That,
most southern states
disallow you from voting forever.
Forever.
Just for one offense. And as we've proven in this book with Charles Wilson, just one offense does not necessarily mean you're a criminal for the rest of your life.
Right.
And he's banned. Charles Wilson would be banned from voting forever, you know. Yes,
exactly. But there are some states that will allow you to vote depending on the kind of felony that you were charged with.
Maine and Vermont, by total contrast, will allow you to vote while you're incarcerated.
What?
Yeah, and it can be any felony. You can vote in Maine and Vermont. And,
that is really interesting.
And then 42 other states will allow you to vote when you're off probation or parole.
But you know, some probations are like for a long time. After you get out of jail, you can be on probation for 10 or 20 years.
Parole is usually the ones that are the longest, you know.
Okay, parole the longest.
And then probation is a shorter period of time.
Oh, okay.
I've done my research on this, you know.
Really? But again, Mississippi is one of those southern states that you really don't stand a chance at being able to have that right to vote if you committed some kind of felony.
Well, the right to vote should be given to all citizens. And if you've committed just one, if you're accused of committing just one felony, that doesn't necessarily mean you've committed it.
Exactly.
And even if you did commit one felony and you want to reform, I think a person should have that opportunity, you know.
Yeah, I think so too. It especially depends upon the kind of crime that was committed. And you know, I don't know, I mean, I guess I would have to do my research as well to see what kinds of crimes that constitute a felony. And again, the judicial system here, as I said before, it needs improvement, and we certainly need people who will be looking out for us as citizens. Yes, we do want to make sure those people who commit those crimes, certain crimes, that they get what is due them. And also, there are some crimes that shouldn't involve this person having to spend 10 and 20 years over, you know, something that wasn't really bad.
Well, it can vary from judge to judge, as I've studied in my studies, you know, it can vary from judge to judge. One judge may give 10 years and another judge may give 1 year.
Oh, okay. So that varies from judge to judge.
Yeah, some of them will throw the book at you, or other judges will allow you to...
Oh, interesting. And hopefully, hopefully the judge that is going to be presiding over you will have a good day.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, because otherwise, you can throw the book at you. Now,
so if you go, it's a plea bargaining system that we got here, so that's why people would rather plea bargain than the risk being found guilty before a jury, you know, because then it's in the judge's hands.
When it's in the jury's hand, that's when it becomes in the judge's hand.
And the judge decides how long you spend in prison, you know, if you're found guilty, you know.
Yeah, so the plea bargain is someone, and especially if this person didn't commit a crime, but yet it was said to commit the crime but yet when all the facts are in that this person didn't do it, of course I'm pretty sure that person will get out. But if that person pleads guilty to doing it, even though that person knows that he or she didn't do it.
Yeah, there's a whole class of people out there that do that, you know, that plead guilty to crimes they know they didn't commit because they're afraid if they go before a jury, the jury will interpret the facts wrong, you know.
Wow. That is so interesting. You know, and I think we as citizens, we need to educate ourselves up on, I know it can be somewhat convoluted at times, trying to understand everything about the judicial system, but you need to understand some of the basics, you know, so that you can be represented right. Yeah. And again, going back to Charles, he is the protagonist in the show, in the book, and there are some other people in the book as well, right?
Oh,
his
yes.
sister,
his family.
His
family.
Okay, and once again, this book is about Charles, who was incarcerated in jail for about 2 years. 2 years. 2 years for a crime he didn't commit.
If you've already been in for 2 years on a lesser felony, you know, which he was for a lesser felony, you've already served all your time by then anyway, you know.
Okay.
And the risk going to prison on top of that really isn't worth it, you know.
Okay, and again, this book dealing with Charles, because what inspired you was knowing this had happened, but that this happens a lot to young men.
I've been studying this for a long time, you know, studying in newspapers, magazines, on the internet.
Before you started writing.
And I got
So
facts
you did your
down.
research.
Did research, I learned that Mississippi is one of 6 states that forever bans you from voting if you're convicted of a felony, you know. So,
and you know what, not only that, even though you no longer will have that right when you get out of jail, when it comes to getting a job, oh my goodness, and you have a felony on your record.
That hurts a lot.
Yes, it hurts. You may not be able to get a job, even a job cleaning the bathroom.
Yeah, it hurts.
I mean, they make it really difficult to even get that kind of job.
Yeah, it makes it where you're in a catch-22 situation where if you plead out, you're still not doing that good.
Exactly. And so what happened is a person will go back and commit a crime because they cannot get a job that would pay them to make a living.
Yeah, and then it ends up being a perpetual cycle, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I would say, and I would probably always say it, but our judicial system, I know they may be doing the best they think they are, but it needs overhauling. Oh, okay, it need overhauling.
I believe there should be mercy for a one-time
Yeah,
offender.
depending on their offense, exactly.
If they keep repeating the
that's a
same
different
stuff over
story.
and over, it's different. But if they just a one-time offender,
Yes.
I think they should be given leniency.
I think so too, depending on what their crime is.
Yeah, because you do not know whether they're it's a he said, she said
Right.
type thing, or he said type thing. You don't really know whether the person is really even anywhere near being guilty.
Exactly,
You know, when they're put in jail. You know.
Well, William, we are going to take another break, and then we are going to come back and let you give out any information on how anybody who's interested in obtaining this reverse guilty plea, on how they can contact you or whatever to get this book. Okay, we will be right back. Tonight's guest is William Trest Jr., author of Reverse Guilty Plea. To obtain your personal copy, go to www.meredithetc.com. Welcome back, welcome back. My guest tonight is William Trest Jr., the author of Reverse Guilty Plea. Now, William, I see also this book is on CD.
Yes.
This book is on CD. That means that they have taken this book and they are reading.
Put it
this
on
book
audio
here.
cassette.
Okay, audio CD, so that those who may not have the time but may have a CD player, they can pop it in and listen at the book being read.
If you're blind.
Right, and that's a good one. Then this is a good for someone who cannot see but want to read the book but can't read it visibly but got ears to hear. The CD would be certainly a good way to hear about the book. Now, whereabout can the book be obtained for those who are interested in having their own personal copy?
My personal publicist is Ms. Meredith McGee.
Okay.
She's James Meredith's daughter.
Niece?
I mean, not daughter, what am I saying?
Okay, no problem.
James Meredith's niece.
Uh-huh.
And James Meredith endorsed my book, by the way.
Okay, well, great.
And it can be attained through meredithetc.com.
Okay.
And that's her website, www.meredithetc.com. And that's where the website that you reach her at, you know. And,
okay, if they are interested in obtaining a copy of the book,
it's
via the book or via the CD.
It's spelled just like James Meredith, you know.
Okay,
first name.
MEREDITH.
Yeah.
ETC.com. Okay, well, thanks so much. Thanks a Trill. Thank you, Mr. William Trest, for coming out and just educating us on your inspiration behind the book and what the book is about. And beloved, go out and do your thing. Find out about what this book is about. Obtaining your copy, your own personal copy. In the meantime, beloved, it has been real. Thanks a Trill for tuning in. And I will see you next time on The Lady Walker Show. Ta-ta.